Hey, how's it going, guys? So, gonna do a quick, little, just on camp thing right now because wanted to talk about John Morant's really scary injury that happened tonight against the Brooklyn Nets. I'm a big Grizz fan. We've got lots of Grizz fans who are subscribed to this channel, so figured I needed to speak on this, say a little bit something about it. Man, did you see this injury to John Morant tonight? So let me set the scene. Let me paint the picture of what this injury looked like. So it was just a couple minutes before halftime against the Brooklyn Nets, and so it was the guy for the Nets, Timothy Luwawu Cabarro, TLC they call him. But John Morant was not getting any TLC guarding TLC. He was chasing waterfalls, for lack of a better word. He goes up to block a jump shot from TLC, comes down. His left ankle, so like if this is the foot, the left ankle just completely crunches underneath him. To be honest, when I first saw what had happened, I didn't know what the injury was. I assumed it was an ankle injury just by the way that he was acting. So he falls down on the guy's leg immediately, hopping, not putting any weight at all on the left leg, hops immediately off the court onto the sidelines and just collapses in a heap right there along the sidelines. A trainer runs over. You could tell that it was bad, whatever it was. So play continues. They keep cutting to John Morant, just in a crumpled heap on the sidelines, wailing in pain. They cut back to the game. So anyway, on replay, that's when you see that his injury was complete, complete like a 90-degree angle. So, of course, the first, assuming the worst is what fans, including yours truly, it's what we do. We assume the worst. So, immediately I think, okay, well, is it a broken ankle? Because he's not able to put any weight on it. Like I mentioned, they end up having to bring out a wheelchair to put him in the wheelchair. They wheel him back into the tunnel. Then later on, you see him back out on the sidelines with an enormous walking boot. So the first thing I think about is broken ankle. I don't know, maybe, because when coming down with all that force on it, could be. Turns out they're diagnosing it as a sprain. So we don't know what grade sprain it is, because you can have I think it's 3 grades of a sprain. So grade 3, of course, is the worst type of sprain that can keep you out, weeks to months. I remember a few seasons back, Ricky Rubio. This is back when he was playing for Minnesota. He plays for Minnesota again, but the first time around, he had a really bad ankle injury early in the season, and that just affected him basically throughout the entire year. Really bad sprain with that. It really wasn't until the next year when he was back to his regular self. You'll remember Steph Curry early on in his career had a series of bad ankle sprains, and that was one reason that Golden State was able to sign him to a below market value contract, which allowed them to have the money to sign a guy like Kevin Durant years later, because Curry was still under that contract. I think that paid him like $11 million a year. Here's a 2-time MVP making $11 million a year, all because he had that history of bad ankle sprains. So what does this mean for the Grizzlies? Because I'm going to pull up these stats. John Morant was having a beautiful year. Guy who is only 21 years old. I think, if not the best up-and-coming young point guard in the league. Some people like Trae Young better. Definitely one of the best point guards in the league. See him as a future MVP candidate, a future multi-time All-Star. I mean, the way he was playing, granted it was only 2 games, he could have, he was making a case for an All-Star as early as the season. His first 2 games, career high 44 points in the season opener, along with 9 assists, couple of rebounds. He's been so efficient shooting the ball. Shot 66% from the field his first game. Very low turnovers too. Only 3 turnovers between his first 2 games. His second game, still a great game. 28 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. He had a block in there, a couple steals in his first game. So he's getting after it, trying to defend when he's on the floor too. And this hurts for the Grizzlies because they're already without Jaren Jackson Jr. They're already without Justice Winslow. They've been without DeAnthony Melton for the last couple games due to COVID protocol. So as far as what this means for the Grizz going forward, I expect Morant to miss a minimum of 3 weeks. That would equate to somewhere 10 to 12 games, somewhere in there. Granted, the Grizzlies won tonight against the Nets in overtime. The Nets were playing without Kyrie and KD. I don't think you can expect the Grizzlies to win too many games when you have guys like Morant and Jaren Jackson on the shelf. Dude was wheeled out on a wheelchair. A wheelchair. Come on. So if I'm the Grizzlies, you got to start Tyus Jones at the point guard spot now. I would use a lot of Kyle Anderson as backup point guard. The Grizzlies were actually doing a little bit of that into the second half tonight. Kyle Anderson had a really nice game. He's one of those guys who has a high b-ball IQ, is going to get guys their shots in the right spot. He's a guy who understands the offense, understands what the other team is doing. He's 6'8", 6'9", so he's a tall. He can act as a tall point guard and really see over the heads of a lot of guys. When he was in college at UCLA, he played point guard a fair amount. So I would have Kyle Anderson backup point guard right off the bat. You have John Conchar, who can play a little bit of point. Grayson Allen can play a little bit of point. Too bad you don't have a guy like Justice Winslow. He could play point even. DeAnthony Melton, when and if he comes back, not a true point guard in any sense, but can act as a little bit of a guy who brings the ball up the floor a little bit, can kind of get you into your offense. So I think they're going to be okay in that regard. The main thing is you're just hoping that Ja Morant is going to be all right from this injury. Thanks to everybody watching right now. Just want to take a sec. If it's your first time here, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. Make sure you like this video. Do videos like this all the time. And when we have breaking news like this, I'll come on and give my initial take, my initial thoughts. So as a Grizzlies fan, I'm thinking, is it that bad that this has happened? Assuming Ja Morant is able to overcome this, which I have no reason to believe that he won't. Ankles can be tricky. Injuries to joints can be tricky. I just always have PTSD thinking about Grant Hill back in the early 2000s. But when you have a player like Ja Morant, who's young, who is going to be able to overcome this injury just fine. I think a little bit longer term. I think, okay, well, what does this mean for the Grizzlies moving forward and draft position? Because they had that pick that they were owed to Boston due to the Jeff Green trade a few years ago. That was dealt with this offseason. So now the Grizzlies have their own pick that they'll be able to use, assuming in the lottery. And when you look at so many injuries, you think, okay, well, this bodes well for the Grizzlies to get a high pick. And this is the draft where you want to do that because there are so many options for the Grizzlies to get if they do get that high pick. I love a guy like Cade Cunningham. Jalen Green is, I think, going to be one of the best 2 guards in the league. Evan Mobley, maybe you pair him with a guy like Jaren Jackson. Could almost be kind of like, I think he has the potential to be better than what James Wiseman is showing us. Brandon Boston Jr. playing with Kentucky, I think, is a really strong prospect, looking like potential Brandon Ingram vibes from him. So just those 4 names just off the top of my head are awesome picks. Jonathan Kuminga is another one. So those guys right off the bat, any of those players could help the Grizzlies. So as rough as it is seeing this Morant injury, as rough as Grizzlies fans are taking this news tonight, let's just take solace in we don't know the full story. We're going to have a full report, I would assume, tomorrow. I would assume that report to be something along the lines of a grade 1 or grade 2 sprain. I think he'll be out for the next few weeks. So until then, the Grizz just going to have to hold down the fort, going to have to get better as a team, run the plays, let the young guys get a little more acclimated to the NBA, especially Desmond Bane, the rookie, John Conchar, second-year guy. And then, just wait till these next players are going to be healthy, as far as Jaren Jackson Jr., Justice Winslow, and Ja, and just hope that they stay free of the injury bug until then. Okay, guys, that's all I've got for tonight. Just wanted to jump on here real quick, give you my initial thoughts on this Ja Morant injury. Make sure you like the channel, sub the channel, like the video, all that good stuff. And, hey, I'm going to catch you next time. Got some good stuff in the works for the next few videos, so make sure you are subbed up so you don't miss them. All right, thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody, have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.